Hey there, welcome back to the show. This is Phil. This is the Phil Vischer Podcast. I'm here with Skye Jitani.
Hi, Phil.
Hi, Skye. How are you?
I'm well.
Good. And Christian Taylor.
Hey, Phil Vischer.
Hi. I almost said hi, Skye again.
I would still say hi back.
Hi, Christian.
Hi.
How are you?
It's Christian.
I'm trying really hard to be happy and peppy and sunny.
Because the traffic is...
Because I'm
the weather
hating
is
the
stinky.
weather.
Yeah, the weather is
trying
stinky.
to ignore it.
Yeah, the weather is stinky.
I wore purple in protest of bad weather.
Protest purple? Mm-hmm. We're getting tons of rain here in the Chicago, actually all across the Midwest.
Yeah.
Actually, across most of America. So I'm not telling you anything you don't know unless you're on the far East Coast or the far West Coast or Canada or Australia or South Africa or England.
Where
It
we
rains
have
in
listeners.
England.
We do have a few listeners.
Yeah.
So it's raining. And if you live in the desert somewhere, rain is like spit from heaven. And we're getting a lot of it right now. Hey, it's a podcast. What do you know? Hey, it's a podcast. And we got video and rain. Hey, it's a podcast. So lend an ear. The Phil Vischer Podcast starts right here. Oh, we'll talk to Skye.
Hello.
And Christian, too.
Hi there.
We don't have a guest because we don't need one here for you. We got something better. Skye's got a book. Hey, it's a podcast. So lend an ear. The Phil Vischer Podcast starts right here. The Phil Vischer Podcast starts right here. I'm feeling a little weird.
Oh, man.
That's great,
Sorry.
Skye. Just cancel the show.
It was telemarketer.
He didn't want to hear you talk about how weird
I'm
you're
feeling
feeling.
a little weird.
I'm going to put it on airplane mode.
Okay, we got some news. Something was really important to Skye, but we're going to talk about it anyway. And it's been a long time since we've talked about something that seems to imply that we might be coming to the end of Western civilization.
And this is it?
I think it's been pretty much the theme for the last...
I don't even think we've said that in like a
presidential
really
campaign.
long time.
It became so self-evident during the presidential
Right, yeah.
campaign that it was hardly worth saying. Nordstrom's muddy jeans. Nordstrom's is selling jeans with fake mud effect. Did you see the picture of them?
Let me look at that.
They look horrible.
They look like muddy jeans.
So someone is making jeans that are designed to look muddy, like you're a hard-working man out working in the field all day. Do you know how much it costs to wear jeans that make it look like you're a common laborer?
Well, let me just say this for reference point.
Yeah.
I took my husband jean shopping about a month ago in a
Okay.
small little boutique in Oxford, Mississippi.
Well, that's a terrible mistake.
And I thought it was
That's
going to
what
cost
Kohl's is for.
$75 for a pair of nice jeans.
Yeah.
And it was 200-ish.
You didn't buy them, did you?
We did buy one pair.
Say you didn't buy them.
We did. So, is it more than that? Because I thought that was pretty
I
ridiculous.
get my jeans at Kohl's for like $30.
Yeah, but
I had
yours
a-
aren't as cool.
I had a jean malfunction on Friday
A jean malfunction.
when I was...
Like in your genome?
So, well...
Is this a play on words?
This is the problem, is I don't really know what happened, but I don't want to know at this point. So Friday, I was in Nashville. I spoke at the Q conference in the morning.
Yeah.
Very nice
That's
event.
Wearing pants.
Wearing these
That's
jeans.
a big deal,
Okay.
the Q conference. That's for like all the cool kids.
It is for the cool kids,
I
but
was out talking to
I-
Sunday school teachers.
I was wearing my Banana
Sacramento.
Republic blue jeans. Okay, just so you
Yeah.
know, these weren't like
Okay.
$2 jeans you get
Right,
at Kohl's.
those
or
are- those
something.
are nice.
Those are nice
Those are
jeans,
some
right?
nice
I had a very
high-end.
nice lunch later that day with some friends of mine who were there, respectable people. I had most of the afternoon free. I got a lot of work done. I went to various public establishments in Nashville. I flew home that night.
Yeah.
And when I get home that night, I realize that there is a large gaping hole in the crotch of my jeans.
Wow.
And I'm like,
Really?
when did this happen? And how long have I not known about it? And so at some point during the course of that day, I don't know if it was on my flight. I don't know if
So it wasn't there when you put your pants on.
I'm pretty sure they weren't.
When
And now I'm
you-
wondering,
Is
did
it
I
the front or the back? Or
It's kind of right down in there under the undercarriage. You know what I mean? So
At any point during your Q speech, did you take any yoga positions that you might
No.
now regret?
no, but I am trying
Like
to think. Right now, is
downward
it possible
dog.
that
did
I
you
was?
sit down like with your legs out, you know?
No, I was standing during the whole
Okay.
talk.
Okay.
But-
so maybe it's okay.
I think I'm okay, but this
And you've checked Twitter. And no one has
No,
said,
no one has said anything.
is Sky's jeans trending as
Did you have underwear on?
Yeah, of course I had underwear on.
Hey,
That's irrelevant.
I actually, I have this phobia about my fly being down.
You
When
do?
oh, sure, everyone should. And
I don't have that.
Good. You've turned it into an issue of right and wrong.
yes, if you are a public speaker, you should always check your fly.
Should have a phobia.
And
Let's add to America's
but I don't
phobias,
think
shall
to
we?
check if my crotch is torn.
Yeah.
Well, now
Right.
you will.
Now I will.
Well,
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
It
I
just
still
warms my
haven't
heart.
told you how much it costs to look like your pants are dirty.
Right. Is it more than $200?
$425.
Oh, that is absurd.
Synthetic mud is very expensive.
That is absurd.
That is really.
Is it like
Is it
mud
Donald
from the
Trump
Holy Land?
mud?
How about this? It's Trump. It's Trump. It's mud from the Holy Land, and when you
Yeah.
buy these jeans, you're like guaranteed a blessing of some kind.
Yeah.
Now that might be worth the
I can see
$425.
someone trying to pull that off, but it just seems like the gap between rich and poor has hit, the haves and the have-nots has hit historic proportions.
So you can look like you
When
have not,
the
but you have to pay a
rich
lot for it.
will pay $400 to look dirty.
I want to
like
know
the poor.
if anyone's actually buying these jeans.
I
Like,
wanna know
are they a
that, too.
commercial success?
I'm certainly gonna hope they're not.
How about jeans that look like you've had an accident? How much would you pay for those?
Nothing.
Well,
would-
yeah, but a couple years ago, this
It would
sounded
have
ridiculous
to become
too.
trendy somewhere. So apparently, this has somewhere become a trend in maybe in dance clubs in New York City or some.
Well, they used to. I remember when I was
Maybe
a
in
teenager,
Brooklyn.
we used to bleach our jeans. Do you remember this?
Well, they came bleached.
Nope.
Oh, this
Acid
is before
wash.
then.
No, we would actually like fill up tubs of water and put your jeans in there
Yeah.
and distress them with
Yeah.
Clorox bleach or whatever. Well,
Okay.
now they make jeans that look like you've done that.
Yeah,
they make jeans with holes in them
Right,
too,
and
that have
holes
been
with
shot
them,
with
and-
buckshot and things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What's it mean? What do you think that says about us, Christian?
Well, it's an artistic statement.
is it?
Yeah,
But
it's
we
an
don't do
artistic
that to
statement.
our khakis. Why is it only artistic when it's your jeans?
Why is it? Here's my question: if somebody walked, let's say you were coming to a very nice restaurant or whatever, nice hotel,
Yeah.
and someone walked in with jeans that appear to have copious amounts of mud on them.
Yeah.
Wouldn't the establishment manager or owner come over and say, "I'm sorry,
Please don't sit
madam or sir, but
down." Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
say, wait a minute, these are $500
Yeah.
jeans, and I should, but why do you want to look like you can't sit in a nice place
Our
because
world
you're
is
full
upside
of mud?
down.
Because you'll get attention. Okay.
That's stupid.
Do you know that educated Christians are actually sticking with church more than their uneducated counterparts?
When
Define
you say
educated. Yeah,
I was
there you
about
go.
to say the same thing.
Oh.
What do you mean when you say educated?
New data suggests religious Americans with college experience tend to participate in services more often than their peers.
Now, hang on a minute.
This just in from Pew Research.
Okay, well, that flies in the face of everything every atheist has ever said.
I've been taught to
Well,
believe.
if I saw this story
Yeah.
or versions of this story,
Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm mistaken, but wasn't it that in general, like across all religious traditions,
Mm-hmm.
more educated people tended to be less religiously engaged?
Yes.
The exception being among Christians.
Yes.
Where more educated Christians were more engaged.
While Americans with college experience are overall less likely to attend services, pray on a regular basis, and say religion is very important to them, that is not true within some faith groups. In fact, Catholic, Mormon, and Protestant college grads are all more likely to attend church on a weekly basis than their less educated peers. This is not true among Muslims and Jews or among people who don't affiliate with any religion at all, suggesting that education has a distinctive effect on religiosity within the world of Christianity.
Why should I care about this?
Whoa, I thought you were going to just
Ouch!
No,
Are we wasting your time here,
No,
Christian?
no. Just tell me.
Because it goes against the prevailing narrative that if you give people religion, they'll stop going to church, or give people education, they'll stop going to church.
What they'll stop going to is mosque and synagogue.
Apparently,
Apparently,
yeah. They
but they-
all start going to church.
Okay, so I still
Yeah.
am
Are you-
struggling
are
to
you-
understand why this
Well,
matters.
one of the things that's interesting is there's been that narrative, at least among evangelicals, that higher education is a threat to faith, right?
Right.
So scandal of the
Right.
evangelical mind and all that sort of stuff. That be careful about educating young people too much because they're going
They'll lose
to
their faith.
lose their faith.
I have never heard of that.
Seriously?
No, I have heard non-religious people say, educate your children, and if you do, they'll realize that religion is
Yeah.
ridiculous,
That's part of it.
right?
And then
So
we
if you
believed
told
that.
me,
and
if
we
you
thought,
told me,
we better not educate our children.
if you told me that more
Yeah.
educated people in general
Yeah.
were more religious, that
not.
I'd be shocked at.
But 75% of Americans are Christian. So that means among the 75% of Americans that claim to be Christian, if you went to college, you're more likely to go to church. Isn't that fascinating? 68,
Do they say why?
68. Well, they don't know why.
That's why we're here.
That's a
No.
survey.
Well,
why do you think
it's
it
a
is?
survey. InterVarsity.
What?
It's the college campus Christian organizations. They turn everyone right around and they get them back to church.
Are you being serious?
Church vans.
That could help.
Church vans. We have 3 church vans. They go pick up college kids
All
and they
over
bring them
Wheaton.
in. Yeah,
Yeah.
And they bribe them with pizza and crack. So it's very effective.
That is effective.
Yeah.
And that is a lie.
Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure about the pizza.
I
part.
want to remind everybody that Phil's an elder at our church.
What? Well, that's how I know.
You deal with the dealers.
That's how I know these things. 68% of college-educated evangelical Protestants go to church every week, compared to 55% of those who only went to high school. So the more school you get, the more you stay. Now, there was another story that I almost brought up a couple of weeks ago. The same thing is true about marriage.
Mm-hmm.
If you went to college, you're more likely to be married. Then and marriage as an institution is declining rapidly for people who did not go to college.
That's right.
Let me ask you if this corollary applies.
Yeah, you got it. You're all
Is that
over
right?
that. Yeah.
So, okay, if you have a college education, you're more likely to have a job that pays at a higher rate.
Yeah.
Who's it this
Oh
time?
no!
That was Phil.
I'm getting a
Calling the
call.
kettle black.
Oh.
I better put my phone on airplane mode just so
Yeah.
I don't get in trouble.
Okay. If you have a college education,
right,
you get paid more.
You get paid more, and so your life potentially could be different or easier, let's say.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And so if
Or at least you can afford muddy jeans.
at least possibly.
Yeah.
But if you haven't finished high school, you're really at the tradesman
Or just high school.
right, or just high school, the
Yeah.
trade level, right?
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
life is harder there,
Yeah.
there and below. Life is definitely a lot harder there. And so I wonder, does that make it more difficult to
Get married?
Well, to sustain a family.
sustain a family and
Yeah.
to
There was a book that came out a couple years ago. I forget the name of it. A sociologist did a study on the deterioration of sort of blue-collar white
Yes.
communities
It's called Coming Apart.
coming apart. That's
yeah,
right.
By Charles, I forget his name. He's a bit controversial.
Barkley.
No, not
Oh.
Charles. No, not Charles Morris.
So anyway, but it's about the deterioration of blue-collar white communities, kind of the Trump voter
because there
demographic.
used to be amazing like blue collar white families.
Well, they were bound together by
Charles Murray.
There you go, Charles Murray. They were bound together by jobs, by community, by unions, by churches, by all these things that held those.
and a lot of that was industry based.
Yeah, a lot of it was, and how all the kind of glue within those communities is deteriorated, and now marriages are deteriorating at a faster rate in those communities.
Yep.
Religious belief is declining more quickly in those communities.
But is that because of money?
No.
Well, economics is a factor.
Do
I
you
would
not
think.
get married because of money?
Not a matter of getting married. It's
Yeah.
a matter of
Staying
staying married.
Do you not stay married because of money?
I think it makes it very
you get a
difficult.
divorce because you don't have enough money?
I think
If I had more money, I'd stay married. No, because it costs money to get divorced. You lose
Well,
money.
there was a case. There was not to get political, but in states where Obamacare has worked well, the divorce
Here
rate
we
has
go.
gone down. Because under some insurance plans, if you're married and your spouse gets really critically ill, it can send the whole family into bankruptcy. But if you divorce and get that ill spouse on a separate plan, then it protects the rest of the family from economic destitution, and there's programs. It was really bizarre, but in some structured healthcare plans, it was more advantageous to divorce than to stay married for economic reasons. Even though they didn't want a divorce, they would, just to be able to pay for their health
Now,
care.
maybe we can find a clue in here. Catholics, Protestants, mainline and evangelical, and Mormons, which group had the biggest gap between college church attendance, high school church attendance?
Right, read it to me again.
Catholics, mainline Protestant, evangelical Protestant, Mormon.
And so the biggest gap,
Yeah, biggest gap between church
I'm going to
attendance.
say Mormon.
I'm going to say evangelicals.
Sky nailed it. He's just...
Don't doubt me.
You're
He's-
smarter
he's
than
on
me.
his game.
That's all there is.
85% of Mormon college graduates go to church at least once a week, compared to 66% of their peers with high school education or less. Interesting, huh? Isn't it? Now, it's opposite for Jews. This is interesting.
The more education.
The more education you have, the less likely you are to go to synagogue regularly. 1/4 of Jews with a high school degree or less attend service every week, compared to roughly 1/10 of college-educated Jews. And 58% of less educated Jews believe in God, compared to less than 1/3 of their more educated peers. Not really. So we're not really talking about observant Jews, because I guess if you go to synagogue, you're an observant Jew.
Right.
So it would self-select, and the survey would fall apart.
Right.
And Mormons tend to be raised more. You know, when you're in a religious minority, it's more a part of your culture.
It's an identity.
Typically. So that shapes your life more. Anyway, fascinating. But
So what's the big takeaway, Phil?
the big takeaway, well,
I asked that in the beginning.
As I was just saying, what the big takeaway was, it's that education is not the enemy of faith. That's the big takeaway.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's tweetable, folks. You can tweet that. So says Phil.
I honestly feel like in order to truly understand the Bible,
Yeah.
you need a lot more education.
Or you need Sky.
Or you need Sky.
No.
The
you
more
can
I
ask
try
him
to
all your
study and the more
questions.
I try to understand, the more I feel like I just need more education.
Yeah. What are the 2 occupations that require advanced degrees and pay the least?
Ministry. And
It's 2 occupations
And
that rhyme.
ministry and dentistry. No, what's
Well, you shaped you picked the wrong
the first one?
Yeah.
Was wrong?
teacher, preacher.
Oh,
Teacher, preacher.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That does make sense.
Yeah. Anyway,
Well, you don't have
that
to
was-
have an advanced degree to be a
I
teacher.
remember when I first
You just have to have a
typically need a
college.
master's.
I remember when I first graduated from seminary and I was looking at roles in different churches, and one church offered me a job, and they were showing me the pay, and they said, we base our salary on what a school teacher with your same amount of education in our community would earn. And I said, okay, that makes sense. Do I get 3 months off a year? And they're like, no. I was like, well, that's not quite.
Okay.
yeah.
Now, what keeps people coming back to church? This is another survey.
the free donuts.
The crack.
We've got our education. We're educated. We keep coming back. What are we coming back for?
I'm coming back to see Jesus.
Oh, that's good.
Well, that's the truth.
That's good.
And worship with him in my church community.
What about everyone else, Phil?
How important do you think the music is?
For me,
Yeah.
we try to show up after the music at our church.
Ooh, about 10 years ago, I know there was a survey that found it was the single most important factor, but I think that may be changing.
Apparently that's changed. According to Gallup in a new survey, the number one reason you attend church or your place of worship is the sermons. 76% of respondents said sermons were the major factor.
But wait a minute. There's a because I've seen a number of these surveys over the years. Is that why people come to a church, or is that why they stay at the church?
Why you attend church or a place of worship. Why you attend church.
Because what I found in a survey that I can't cite because it was many years ago was there was a list of the number one reasons why people choose a church. And preaching was way up there, music was way up there, children's programming was way up there. But then when they surveyed people who'd been at a church 5 years or longer and asked, why do you stay at that church? None of those were in the top 3.
What were they?
It's community.
It was community.
At that
it's
point.
relationship. So what draws people in is not what keeps them there.
Right. Okay, let me go through the list. Number 1, the sermons. Number 2, spiritual programs geared toward children and teenagers. So it's our kids. Number 3, lots of community outreach and volunteer opportunities.
I don't buy that.
We want to volunteer when you ask us on a survey.
On a survey.
Not in real life.
That's called the halo effect.
Number 4, dynamic religious leaders who are interesting and inspiring. That's why we join cults.
Which is part of the sermon thing.
Yeah,
here's what's really troubling to me is some people will be so enamored with a preacher or their style and never actually investigate what they're saying.
Yeah.
Because it's a performance art.
Who are you thinking of, Scott?
I'm not naming names.
Okay. Number 5, social activities that allow you to get to know people in your community.
That's legit.
Bake sales, car washes, trunk or treat.
Potlucks.
Crack smoking.
The least selected reason people come to church.
Music.
A good choir, praise band, cantors, or other spiritual music. So America's worship pastors all just lost 10% of their income.
Wow.
Yeah,
I do think that is a change.
It is a change, but I don't know if it's. I question the survey a little bit.
It's Gallup. It's Gallup Sky.
I'm just saying.
You don't think Gallup knows how to survey?
But see, what they're not asking you though is what would make you leave a church, or let's say you come in for the first Sunday to check it out.
Heresy.
Well, and let's say the preacher is quite good.
Yeah.
But you have like horrible music.
Then we come late.
Well, but that's what I mean. Is just because somebody says, well, I came for the sermon doesn't mean they're going to stay, because there's other things. They have to meet a certain threshold of acceptability. Similar with children's ministries. You know, there's really fantastic children's ministries. There's adequate children's ministries. And then there's, I won't let my child in there. I'd rather let them play with a box of rusty nails.
Yeah.
You know, and that's... Yeah. That no matter how good the preaching or music may be, I'm not staying at that church, right? If I don't think my kid is safe. So certain elements may be attractional, but others can really be detrimental.
So do you think there's anything to glean from this
Not a lot,
survey?
No. I don't think it gives into enough detail.
Oh, okay.
But you know what?
Yeah, what?
I think we can put it to good use.
Can we?
Yeah, I think that
By canceling the music?
No, but I think it's good to challenge people that listen to us to think about, why do you go to church?
Yeah.
Why do you go to church, and why do you go to the one you go to? And what do you value, and why do you stay? Mm-hmm. Because it's important to be thoughtful about what we invest our time in. Mm-hmm. So, for that very reason, I think that survey was good to talk about.
The other thing, one last point.
Thank you, Christian.
You're welcome.
I do too.
There is a hidden challenge in this survey, which let's just take it at face value and say the number one reason people are coming is for the preaching or the sermon. Good preaching and biblical content used to be a scarcity, where if you wanted to find it, you had to go to a church, find the right church on Sunday morning, and that was it. Now, arguably, you can get online and find hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of really good Bible teaching.
You can find the best Bible teacher in America and basically attend their church.
If what you care about is the
On
content
your
of the
phone.
sermon, absolutely. So that's a threat to the local congregation.
Yeah.
In other words, you're going to have to find something other than dynamic preaching to keep people engaged, because that's available everywhere and anywhere.
But only a third of Americans ever listen to podcasts.
Why?
So because we're not all auditory learners.
No.
What?
I'm saying, why? What is the purpose of communal worship?
Oh boy.
Well, that's a subject for another book.
No, the purpose is that Christ called us to be in community with one another and to worship together, and he inhabits the praises of his people, and when we are gathered, he's there. And so,
Hey, that's biblical.
Yeah.
Good job.
So that's why I go every Sunday, because
But you skip out on that part of he inhabits the praises of his people, because you come after the music.
Actually, I don't. It's my husband, but I didn't want to
You
out
are
him.
throwing him under the bus. Wow.
Actually, it's not me.
Only occasionally. Look, he has if we could get up and go to the 8:45 service where there was traditional hymn singing, we would both be happier.
Really?
And
He doesn't like contemporary worship?
It leaves a lot to be
Is
desired.
1995 still called contemporary?
Anyway, my point is, you can worship and be in part of that without necessarily the music. But my point is, that's the reason for going to church.
Yeah, but okay, let's be brutally honest. In most evangelical church settings, when we gather, we're really not engaging with one another at all.
It's not a matter necessarily that you go and you engage with one another. It's that you are communally worshiping. Like you're communally there seeking God and open to receiving from Him.
This is totally not the topic of our podcast.
I know, and we got it.
Sorry.
But this is a good topic, we should come back to it.
We'll put a pin in that.
We're going to have listeners that write in on your Facebook page and say,
put a pin
we
in
should
that.
have finished this conversation.
We will finish it.
The finish of that conversation is about 6 hours after you start it.
Okay.
That's actually a topic that's been on my mind a lot, though, so we'll come back.
Maybe we should write a book about it.
I'm toying with it.
Fantastic. Sky's got a book. And if you stay to the end, we're going to give you a way where you can get the first couple of chapters for free to try it out in the privacy of your own home.
Or car.
Seriously?
Or doctor's waiting office.
Sounds like exercise equipment.
It is, but for your spirit, for your soul, Sky.
Sell it, Phil.
Okay. Sky's book is called What's Wrong with Religion?
Question mark.
Question mark. Yeah, well, there would have to be a question mark.
No, there doesn't.
What's wrong? If it starts with what, it's a question.
You could, but it could.
What's wrong with-
I could just be, here's what's wrong with religion.
There's no here's.
Right, but
What's
it's
wrong?
implied.
Okay, what's wrong with religion? There.
How about this?
That's the title of his book.
What's wrong with religion?
Yeah.
It's all about the inflection.
Are you saying...
But he actually really is saying...
Are you saying, what's wrong with religion? I don't see anything wrong with it. Is that what you're saying?
It could be.
No.
But see, that's what I like about
He's assuming that there is something wrong with religion.
And what's cool about this book, it's small.
I'm holding it up here.
This is not the real book, people.
Yeah, that's not the actual book.
These are the printer
that's
proofs.
Not the actual book.
Okay,
that's
but
not
this
the
is
cover.
what we have here.
That's not what the cover even looks like.
Yeah, that's not the cover either.
It's black. It's black.
These are the inside pages without a cover, and it's not even on the right paper. I just brought this for reference.
Okay. Come on, people. We're getting off track.
Nobody even watches anyway, so what does it matter? Go ahead.
Okay.
What's wrong with religion?
It starts out with a quote. Very first thing in the book is a quote from A.W. Tozer.
Good Alliance pastor.
Good Alliance pastor. Most people play at religion as they play at games. Religion itself being of all games the one most universally played. What did he mean by that, and why is that the first thing in the book?
I think what Tozer meant by that was that rather than taking religion seriously, people dabble in it like they do games.
Like golf.
Like golf.
Dabble in golf.
It's something that they just...
But some people take their golf very seriously.
Yes, they do.
Okay. And is that true with religion also?
Some people take it very, very seriously. Yeah.
Okay.
And some people hide the fact that they play golf every weekend.
But the reason I put that at the beginning...
Maybe some people
You're
hide.
either talking about Trump or your husband. I'm not sure which.
The reason I put that at the beginning of the book is because he talks about it being the game most universally played. And one of the opening arguments of the book is that everyone is religious.
Right.
And I'm intentionally provoking that because there's so much being written these days about how irreligious we're becoming.
Yeah, we're trying to. We've been becoming less religious, right? But you're
saying what we put our faith in.
We're still
really
religious.
So I'm kind of basing that off of a theologian, 20th century, more liberal theologian, but I like some of his stuff, Paul Tillich, who argued that to be human is to be religious because every human has something in their life of ultimate concern. And whatever that thing is, that is their religion. That is their God, their idol. So the argument that there are religious people and non-religious people is like saying, well, there are human beings and then there's non-human beings. And that's not obviously true. So we're all religious. Let's just admit it.
There's a lot of people that won't admit that.
I know, but that's part of what the book's about. Coming to a place of going, okay, let's come up with a definition of religion that isn't just about, church and deities and things like, but it's a broadly human outlook upon the world.
Okay, who's the book for, and what are you setting out to accomplish?
That's a good question, Phil.
Yeah, thanks. Who's the book for?
Well, the book is for everybody.
Okay.
Clearly.
So it's not just it's not like an academic book.
No.
This isn't inside baseball for
I kind of take an exception
pastors.
with the fact that it is for everyone. I mean, it is.
Great.
However, it will appeal to more strongly to certain types.
Yes, it will.
The visual learners.
Yeah. So this book represents a departure for me because even though some of my other books had visual elements to them, this is very visual. I don't know how, I haven't counted.
Like
but
every other page.
There's pictures on like every other page.
Right. And
There's drawings.
There are drawings. It's all black and white and lots
yeah,
of
keep
diagrams.
pushing the black and white thing. That's a big seller.
It is these days.
Yeah.
What I love.
It's retro,
What
like
I-
vinyl.
You can also get a copy that's twice as expensive that has mud thrown on it.
Twice.
Yeah.
100
Yeah,
times.
100 times more expensive.
What I think is phenomenal about this book is that not only did you write it, but you were the illustrator. And there's some really good illustrations in here.
Thank you very
well,
much.
first of all, did you think up these illustrations
Well,
yourself?
yeah.
You did?
Yeah, what do you think I did?
They're original?
They are original.
I don't know.
If
I
I
thought
drew
maybe you
them.
copied them from someone.
Well, I did copy one.
Which one?
The Scream.
The Scream,
Oh,
yeah.
right.
There's my depiction of the Scream
Yeah.
painting.
By Munch.
Munch.
Munch?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, but-
anyway.
but I drew that.
But you did a really amazing job here with these illustrations.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So,
It is for everybody, but it's especially for those who are struggling with faith, who are disillusioned either with their Christian faith or the church or faith in general, or for those who have someone in their life who has struggled or struggling with understanding what faith is really all
honestly, I think it's for anyone who just needs to be reminded what the point of all this is.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Because there's so many Christian books, and to get any shelf space, you have to specialize. So this is a book about this particular kind of prayer, or this is a book about how God is going to heal your marriage in 12 easy steps, or this is a book about this one book of the Bible and the view of women in ministry. And it's like, well, would someone just in less than 1,000 pages explain what this whole thing is about? And I think that's what this is.
That's what this is, exactly.
Which is really cool.
The subtitle, which I don't think we mentioned, which may explain a little bit more, is 9 Things No One Told You About Faith.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, see that? 9
It's very small.
things. It is small.
Things about
So
faith.
it's very accessible and simple and cuts through all the noise and gets down to the
It's almost, what's that Dr. Seuss book that you give every college graduate?
Oh, the places you'll go.
The places it's almost like that in that it's so fundamental that it's like, okay, are you alive? Here, you need a copy of this.
That's a good way to put it.
I think it should be.
Actually, this is an ideal book for a graduation gift.
That's
Speaking
true.
of the places you'll go.
And we can almost get it out in time.
It will be out.
When's the actual release date?
I think we should have actual copies I'll have them by the 13th
Of May?
of May, but I'd probably be
Okay.
able to ship them a little bit after that.
So it's going to be a hard copy.
No. It's soft
It's
cover.
soft copy.
Oh, soft.
It's soft cover. It's
Yeah.
6 inches square. 130 some
And
pages.
is it going to be a digital version also?
There will be a digital version also, but it's because it is so highly visual.
Mm-hmm.
It's really best experienced.
It's a good bathroom book.
Okay. Enemies.
No, it is. It'll
Can I
fit
put
right
that?
on your
Can I put that on the quote on the back
It's
cover?
a good
Christian
bathroom
Taylor.
book.
It's a good bathroom
It's a
book.
good bathroom
is.
book.
It should be in every church bathroom.
It should.
Enemies of Christianity would say that religion ruins everything, like Christopher Hitchens. He's famous for saying that. You actually agree with him in the book.
Sorta.
Sort of. Why do you agree?
Well, for those who've heard me speak or read some of my other materials, this won't be news, but it finds its way in this book. The argument I make is that religion at its core, Phil,
That's not me.
Sorry.
Unbelievable.
All sorts of phone calls.
On your computer.
religion at its core is a system of control rooted in fear. So it's how we try to gain control over an uncontrollable world through our prayers, through our morality, through rituals, through sacrifices. And so it ends up, rather than delivering us from the fears in the world, actually makes the world more dangerous and more frightening. So the argument that atheists make that wars are fueled by religion and injustice and prejudice and all those things are fueled by religion, I think they have a case, they're right. The question, though, is does getting rid of religion do anything to stop that?
Yeah.
And so there's another chapter in here.
Because it depends on how you define religion.
Right. But there's one quote, I forget who it is, I quoted in the book, but it talks about how religion is not the cause of our wars, it's the excuse. And if you get rid of religion,
Right.
you still have all the same human problems, we just come up with a different excuse for them. And
But
So let's just theoretically get rid of all religions for argument's sake.
Imagine a
Imagine
world with
that
no
there
religion.
are no
It's
religions.
easy if you try.
If we get rid of them all,
Yeah.
we're going to fight over land. We're going to fight over money,
Well,
resources.
Forget hypothetical. The most horrible regimes of the 20th century that killed more people than any other were all atheistic regimes. The Soviet Union, Mao's China, and the Khmer Rouge. Estimated, 60 million people, 90 million
90
people were
million
killed
people.
by those three atheistic regimes. They were not killed in the name of God or religion. Those people were killed in the name of an economic system. So, again, you get rid of religion. The analogy I make in the book is a medieval doctor who thinks that drilling a hole in your skull will get rid of a fever. Well, that's kind of what their argument is with religion. It doesn't solve the world's problems. Okay, fine. Well, let's stop drilling holes in people's heads. That still doesn't cure the fever.
Right.
Right.
We
So
still got a fever.
Right. You're getting rid of a bad solution, but it doesn't solve the underlying
And it's funny
problem.
because even atheist critics will say, when you say, well, look, all of the people that were killed by atheist regimes,
Mm-hmm.
they would say, yes, but because of the structure of those regimes, they functioned more like religions. You
Exactly.
say, exactly.
That's my point.
We will always function like religion because we're always worried about scarcity.
Right.
We always look at the world as a dangerous place that we need to control. And so whether it's Leninism or Catholicism, we're going to come up with a system
That's right.
of control. And that's what your religion is.
Couldn't we just boil this down to something really simple?
Okay.
That we were all created with a God-shaped hole in our hearts.
The Donut Man. That's what his thing was.
And that we have to put something in there.
You eat enough donuts, it'll clog every hole in your heart.
Okay, so you think that there is a good argument for that this drive to control actually does ruin the world?
Yeah, I think it creates an awful lot of problems in all levels, not just like genocide and warfare, but even on a personal level. I think it explains why a lot of young people are vacating the church.
Yep.
Because they've been given a form of religion and an incorrect gospel that basically says you do life the way God wants you to and it'll go the way you want it to go. It's a form of control. And then when it doesn't work out for them, they go, oh, this Jesus stuff is nuts and garbage, and they walk away. So a lot of this book is diagnosing how does religion function, good and bad and ugly, and then what is the message of Jesus and how is that different in freeing us from that cycle and getting that straight.
But you also, because then it seems like, okay, well then we need to take our kids and we need to really get them plugged into being missional. You know, we need to get them to live radically. We need to get them to be sold out for Jesus and completely reject, an easy life and go all in.
Yeah, and I meet young people over the country. You probably do too when you go to these colleges who are, on fire for Jesus.
So we need to do big things for Jesus.
Right.
And you're saying what? That's not the answer?
A
life of meaning.
It depends which piece you want to attack here, but I make the case that a highly missional, I'm using air quotes, missional vision of Christian faith is actually closer to paganism than Christianity.
Whoa, wait a second. Unpack that.
Okay.
What do you mean by that?
Okay,
Open that up.
We should have John Walton in here for this one. So go to Genesis, the creation account. If you look at the creation stories of almost any pagan religion, whether it's from Egypt or Greece or wherever, the creation narratives are almost all the same. And that is there's a god or gods, and they create human beings, put them on the earth, and humans exist to serve the gods, right?
Yeah.
They supply the gods with food, they build them temples, they fight their wars, all that. So humans are the slaves or servants of the gods,
deities.
right? Because they need them to do so. The creation account in Genesis is remarkable for many reasons, but one reason is it's very evident that God, the God of the Old Testament, the God of Scripture, does not need people. He says, if I were hungry, would I tell you, right? I own the cattle on 1,000 hills, and I don't live in a house made by men. The whole world is my temple. He doesn't not need us. So in Genesis, the beautiful thing
He
about...
does not need us.
He does not need us. The beautiful thing in Genesis is that he does not create the man and the woman to serve him. He creates the man and the woman to represent him, which is, in other traditions, a role that is only
reserved for the priests.
for the priest or for the king usually is seen as God's image on earth. So it's a very different role. And when you transfer that then into what you see in a lot of popular Christianity, the message, whether explicit or implicit in a lot of our communities, is God needs you to change the world. God needs you to accomplish his mission. God needs you to evangelize the world. God needs you to, change all the unjust things going on. And so people get this sense of God needs me. He's depending on me. I have to do something. And that's actually a very pagan understanding of God. Now, I think we should be doing those things, not out of a compulsion that I have to do this because God needs me to, but it ought to be a different motivation. And we carry the image and presence of God into the various dark places of our world because we're made in his image, but it's from a different motivation. And when I encounter some young people, they are so exhausted and driven because they've internalized this idea that my value and significance is rooted to how much I do for God.
Right.
And that's actually a very pagan idea.
Right.
Interesting.
Right. And it drove me, because it was part of my upbringing, coming out of especially in our denomination, is the Christian and Missionary Alliance. We are missional. We put it right in the name of our denomination.
Right.
And I grew up, my great-grandfather was a radio preacher in this denomination, who constantly put missionaries up on a pedestal to say, this is the life of value. This person actually lost their life for the mission.
And you can't even get out of bed.
And you can't even get out of bed. And that drove my whole family, in some cases to rebel and completely abandon the faith because they didn't want it at all. In other cases to work harder. Me, I ended up in the emergency room working so hard, almost killed myself. And it's funny because I just read your book again, I think for the second time this morning and at lunch. And it really felt like I needed to hear that because I've been stressed, and it's just like, oh man, I just need to stop and slow down and have somebody say, look, this is what this is all about. Just calm down. It's about you and Jesus. It's not about you working for Jesus. It's not about you controlling Jesus. It's about just resting in Jesus. And that's so radical in our wing of the Christian world that I keep forgetting about it continuously.
Well, this is a double-sided thing. Is our tradition highly values activism, but like any tradition, what you value can become your idol. So I don't want to say activism and involvement and engagement, it doesn't matter. Whatever God has called you to do, by all means do it, but it's not the most important thing.
Well, I will tell you what stuck with me the most.
Okay.
It's sort of along these same lines. I read this last night while I was only half watching the Cubs game.
It's a quick
read,
by the way.
Painful.
And the Cubs are listed as one of your religions in the book.
It is actually, yes.
So there you go.
Yeah.
You were worshiping two gods last night.
I was.
At the same
except
time.
I was really mad at the other god. not the good one.
Well, you could be mad at the real God for the way the Cubs are doing. That's not uncommon either.
No. Jesus wanted his listeners to grasp what so many of us miss.
You're quoting the book here.
I'm quoting the book, and this is you're summing up the story of the prodigal son and the older brother. What God cares most about is not your obedience nor your disobedience, but your presence. And that really spoke to me because I've been trying to figure that out. I mean, it started with reading With a long time ago. I got that concept. That was the first book of yours that really shook me out of where, this stupor I was in. And it really made me think like, yeah, okay, I need to walk with God and not just be all these other things. But what does that look like? And so I've spent several years now trying to figure this out. And you're right, Phil. We get so caught up in what we're doing or what we're supposed to be doing or what we're not doing that to just learn how to be in the presence of God is an incredibly tricky thing. I've been reading Brother Lawrence's, Practicing His Presence. And one of the things he said, I don't know, the last thing I read was, in returning and rest shall be your strength. In quietness and confidence shall be your strength. And it just, when I meditate on those, or I meditate on Psalm 23, and I get to that place of just resting and being and thanking Him daily and turning my mind toward Him, that begins to feel like we're walking together through the day instead of sitting down with my to-do list of all the things I have to do for Him. Right. That's a discipline I think that we have to cultivate, right?
Right.
I mean, how do you guys do that? How do you personally do that?
I read Sky's book every morning.
Seriously.
I read a devotion every morning.
No, come on. I'm serious,
It's
actually.
routines.
It is routines. It's boundaries. It's
Yeah, but how do you not make the routine the idol? Like having your quiet time every day becomes so important.
I don't think that becomes an idol any more than, exercising becomes an idol unless the focus of every moment is, I got to exercise more so that I can be worth something.
Right.
And I don't have devotions to be worth something, and I don't exercise to be worth something. I exercise because I feel better afterwards, because it puts me in a better frame of mind. And devotions calibrates me for the day and makes my ideas seem a little less important and God's ideas seem a little more important. And that's, starting with like Sky's devotional in the morning instead of starting with, the Wall
news,
Street Journal
right.
or the Trump report.
Right.
It changes what you're valuing that
Right.
day.
You got to remember any discipline, whether it's spiritual discipline, a physical discipline, a discipline is always a means to an end. The discipline itself is never the goal. Just your exercise is not the goal. It's being healthy in the way you feel
Feeling good.
after you've exercised.
Yes.
Similarly, the routines we put into our life, those aren't the goal. It's what they produce in us. So
for you, it's got to be uniquely challenging because your work is writing a
Helping other
devotion every
people.
day.
Yeah, I remember.
So then how do you...
It's boundaries, a lot of it. I remember when I was a seminary student, the Bible was my textbook every day, every class,
Right.
every night. And I got to a point where I could not open up that book without just thinking about it like a student or a teacher or what am I. And so for me in that season, the discipline of Lectio Divina, if no one's ever heard of that, it's just a more meditative way of reading the Bible, became massively helpful to engage Scripture that way. Similarly, there's time where I'm studying or reading for what I'm going to write in my devotional, and I have to keep that completely separate from my truly reflective devotional time, which is when I don't usually read the Bible for my devotional time because I'm reading the Bible frequently throughout the day. That's usually my time where I'm reflecting on what's really going on inside of me and inviting God into that with me rather than just living up in my head.
All right, so here's the deal. There's a lot of really good books, classics in the Christian world. Dallas Willard has written amazing books. Richard Foster has written amazing books. A.W.
Henry Nouwen.
Tozer, Henry Nouwen, all these guys have written amazing books. They're amazing. They're not always accessible. You wouldn't necessarily want to give The Divine Conspiracy to a high school graduate and say, have fun, this will change your life. It's too stinking long and too dense. This is like the Places You'll Go from Dr. Seuss. This is the kind of book that you could hand to a high school graduate and they'll actually get through the whole thing and they'll learn something and it might actually change their life. So here's what we want to do, okay, for you guys. We want to give you for free the first 2 chapters of this book to try out.
Digitally, of course.
Digitally, of course. We're not going to rip the first 2 chapters off a bunch of books and put
mail
them in
them
the
to
mail. So here's what you need to do.
And that's a good deal because it looks like there's only 9.
You can do one of a couple of things.
Chapters.
Go to the...
Just saying, that's a good deal.
Can I keep going?
Keep going.
Okay. You can go to the show notes for this episode on philvischer.com, and you can click a link there to get it sent to you. Or if you're listening to this on your phone, you can text to get the first 2 chapters of Sky's book. Text to the number 44222 and text the word Skybook, SKYEBOOK, one word. Text Skybook, SKYEBOOK, to the number 44222. And then it'll say, hey, give us the email that we can send it to, and then you'll get the first 2 chapters in your email inbox in like 2 minutes. And then you can read it and decide if it's any good. I hope you think it's good, though, because,
Yeah, keep us going.
and Sky needs to make
How
make a
much
living.
is this book?
I believe the cover price is $14.99.
Okay.
That's fantastic.
Can you buy it anywhere other than online?
It'll be in Amazon.
You'll get it at my website, which should always be your first choice.
Of course.
And it'll be available on Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sky is self-publishing the book.
Well, sort of. Yeah, we started a new
Sort of.
we started a new company called Sky Pilot Media.
Oh.
And this is the first physical book that we have put out.
That's
so
fabulous.
if this goes well, I'm anticipating there could be a couple of more formatted like this, very visual.
With drawings and
with
stuff?
drawings and stuff that kind of tackle different
Fantastic.
issues.
This
So
is like if Dallas Willard was into graphic novels.
Yeah.
This is what you would get.
That's right.
there you go.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say
Dallas Willard graphic novels.
Condensed.
Oh, my friend, his name is Sky, and he spends most of his time wondering why
I thought he was going to say you were high.
the
On
church
crack.
is doing what it's doing, and so much nonsense has been brewing. He wonders why we gotta be so crazy missional, cause sometimes we use God like we're a little bit superstitional, and we
But you're really.
to back up and take a look by getting a free sample of his new book, because you can do more than be a crook. It doesn't really make sense, but that's okay. And isn't it odd that you can be with God just by slowing down and reading the first 2 chapters of Sky's book? And then the next 7 chapters? And then the back cover? And then subscribing to his devotional?
Make it end. Make it end.
Please.
That ukulele. I'm tolerating it because you're marketing my book for me.
You better tolerate it, pal.
Thank you.
You better tolerate the heck out of this ukulele, because it's singing for your supper. All right. That's 44222. Text it, Sky Book, SKYE book, one word. And we'll send you 2 free copies. And I'm working on some family devotionals that I'll tell you more about in the next couple of weeks as well.
You
and
keep saying that.
We may even
They're good.
give you a free sample of those, too. I know it's exciting, isn't
And
it?
I'm going to serenade it.
Because we're
and market
making
it with a
digital things.
Ukulele.
Because we're making digital things, we can actually give them away for free as samples,
That's awesome.
as opposed to DVDs, which are expensive to give away for free.
Right.
You lose money. Thanks for being here, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye,
See you,
everybody.
everyone.
Goodbye.
The Phil Fisher Podcast is produced by Phil Fisher Enterprises and recorded live at Jellyfish Lab Studios. This episode was edited by Jason Rugg and was fact-checked by absolutely no one. For more information, go to philfisher.com.